Midnight, June 6, 1944. The English Channel. 5,000 ships, 11,000 aircraft, 156,000 soldiers, all converging on a 50-mile stretch of French coastline called Normandy. This is D-Day, Operation Overlord, the largest amphibious invasion in history. In the next 24 hours, the fate of Western Europe will be decided. Paratroopers are already dropping behind enemy lines. Gliders are crash landing in darkness. Naval guns are preparing bombardment. And on 5 beaches, Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juno, and Sword, American, British, and Canadian soldiers are about to storm Hitler's Atlantic Wall. Some beaches will see light resistance. Others, especially Omaha, will become killing grounds where men will die by the thousands. By this time tomorrow, the Allies will either have a foothold in France or they'll be massacred on the beaches. There is no middle ground. This is D-Day, hour by hour, the first 24 hours that changed everything. This is the story of June 6, 1944, told hour by hour through the experiences of the soldiers who lived it. For 2 years, the Allies had been planning this moment. Hitler's fortress Europe had to be breached. The Soviet Union, bleeding in the east, demanded a second front. Britain, bombed and exhausted, needed deliverance. America, with its industrial might and millions of soldiers, would provide the force. But invading France meant attacking the Atlantic Wall. Hundreds of miles of fortifications, mines, obstacles, and German defenders waiting for exactly this attack. Eisenhower called it the Great Crusade. Churchill feared it would be a bloodbath. The Germans had been preparing for years. Rommel had strengthened defenses, flooded fields, planted millions of mines. Weather was marginal. Storms had delayed the invasion already. If D-Day failed, another attempt wouldn't be possible for months, maybe years. The Allies had one chance, one day, and it started at midnight, when the first paratroopers jumped into the darkness over Normandy. This is their story, hour by hour. The first 24 hours that decided the fate of the world. Midnight, the invasion begins, not on beaches, but in the sky. American paratroopers of the 82nd and 101st Airborne Divisions jumped from C-47 transport planes into darkness over Normandy. Their mission: secure key bridges, crossroads, and causeways behind Utah Beach. Cut German communications. Prevent reinforcements from reaching the beaches. But the drop is chaos. High winds scatter the planes. Anti-aircraft fire fills the sky. Pilots, spooked by flak, drop paratroopers too fast, too scattered. Men land miles from drop zones. Equipment is lost. Units are scattered. Some men drown in flooded fields Rommel created specifically to kill paratroopers. Others land in towns, are shot while hanging in trees, or captured immediately. But the survivors begin gathering, using cricket clickers to identify each other in darkness. Small groups of Americans, often from different units, form ad hoc teams and begin attacking German positions. The chaos actually helps. The Germans have no idea how many paratroopers have landed or where. Confusion is everywhere. 12:15 a.m. While Americans scatter across the Cotentin Peninsula, British 6th Airborne Division executes one of history's most audacious operations. 6 Horsa gliders, carrying Major John Howard's D Company, crash land within yards of Pegasus Bridge, a vital canal crossing the Germans must not use to counterattack. The gliders literally crash into the ground. Soldiers are thrown about, some injured and landing. But within minutes, Howard's men are storming the bridge. Surprised German defenders barely fire a shot before being overwhelmed. By 12:20 a.m., the bridge is captured, intact. Howard's men dig in, knowing German counterattacks will come. This single operation, executed perfectly in darkness, secures the eastern flank of the invasion. It's textbook special operations. Gliders landing within meters of target, rapid assault, bridge secured in minutes. The men of D Company have no idea if the seaborne invasion will even happen. Weather might have canceled it, but they hold Pegasus Bridge, waiting for relief that may never come. 1 a.m. In the American drop zones, chaos reigns. Paratroopers are scattered over hundreds of square miles. Most can't find their units. Equipment bundles containing vital weapons, radios, and explosives are lost. Some units have 10% of their men. Others have gathered small mixed groups from multiple companies. Lieutenant Richard Winters of Easy Company, 506 PIR, lands alone, gathers a small group, and begins moving toward objectives without orders. Initiative in action. Private John Steele's parachute catches on St. Mary-Église church steeple. He hangs there playing dead while Germans shoot other paratroopers. He'll be captured but survive. Some units achieve objectives. Small groups of 82nd Airborne seize crossroads. Others wander lost in bocage, the nightmare hedgerow country where visibility is 20 feet. The Germans are equally confused. Reports of paratroopers everywhere, but no clear picture. This confusion is actually strategic success. The Germans think a major airborne invasion is underway and can't determine Allied intentions. 2 a.m. Elements of the 505th Parachute Infantry Regiment, 82nd Airborne, assault St. Mary-Église, a vital crossroads town. The Germans are caught completely off guard. After brief but intense fighting, the Americans control the town. St. Mary-Église becomes the first French town liberated on D-Day. The paratroopers dig in around the town square, setting up defensive positions. They're still scattered, understrength, and low on ammunition, but they hold. German counterattacks will come at dawn. Meanwhile, Private Steele still hangs from the church steeple, playing dead. He'll later be cut down and captured. The capture of St. Mary-Église is crucial. It blocks German movement along key roads. And psychologically, the stars and stripes flying over a French town at 2 a.m. sends a powerful message. The Allies are here to stay. 3 a.m. In German headquarters, confusion reigns. Reported paratroopers are flooding in, but the picture is unclear. Communications have been disrupted. French resistance sabotaged phone lines. Allied bombers hit command posts. Local commanders are requesting permission to move reserves, but the German command structure is paralyzed by Hitler's order. Panzer divisions can only move with his personal approval. And Hitler is asleep. No one dares wake him. Worse, Field Marshal Erwin Rommel, commander of German forces in Normandy, isn't even in France. He's in Germany, visiting his wife for her birthday, convinced bad weather makes invasion impossible. The German response to D-Day is crippled from the start. The overall commander is absent, reserves can't move, and no one knows if this is the real invasion or diversion. The Allies' deception operations, convincing Germans' invasion would come at Calais, are working perfectly. Even as paratroopers fight across Normandy, German high command thinks this is a feint. 4 a.m. Dawn is approaching. The paratroopers have been on the ground for 4 hours. They're scattered, exhausted, and low on ammunition, but they've accomplished much. Key bridges captured or destroyed, crossroads seized, German communications disrupted, and, most importantly, massive confusion created. The Germans still don't know the main invasion is coming from the sea. Paratroopers dig in, expecting German counterattacks at dawn. They wonder if the seaborne invasion will actually happen. Some fear they've been sacrificed in a diversion. In reality, just a few miles offshore, the largest naval armada in history is approaching. Naval bombardment will begin in 2 hours. The beach landings in 3. The paratroopers just need to hold until relief arrives. But relief is still hours away. And German panzers are starting to move. 5 a.m. Dawn breaks, and hell begins. Allied naval forces, 7 battleships, 23 cruisers, and over 100 destroyers open fire on German coastal defenses. The bombardment is overwhelming. Thousands of shells per minute hammering German positions. 16-inch battleship guns firing shells the weight of cars. The explosions are visible from England. The sound is deafening. For German defenders and bunkers along the Atlantic Wall, it's terrifying. The earth shakes, buildings collapse, communications are cut. But the bombardment has problems. Poor visibility due to smoke and clouds. Many shells fall short or overshoot targets. Some bunkers are reinforced concrete. Shells bounce off. And the bombardment duration is shorter than planned. 30 minutes instead of the hours originally requested. Still, the psychological effect is enormous. German defenders are stunned, deafened, and demoralized before the first landing craft touches shore. 5:30 a.m. As naval guns pound the coast, Allied bombers attack inland targets, roads, bridges, artillery positions. Over 2,000 bombers participate in D-Day operations. But like the naval bombardment, effectiveness is limited. Cloud cover forces bombers to release ordnance blind. Many bombs fall miles inland, missing beach defenses entirely. On Omaha Beach, where American forces will land, almost no German fortifications are damaged by bombing. The defenders are intact, waiting. But the Allies don't know this yet. Visibility is too poor to assess damage. The landing craft are already in the water, heading towards shore. There's no turning back now. 6:30 a.m. H-hour. Utah Beach. The first American soldiers step onto French soil. Private First Class Leo J. Thibodeau of the 4th Infantry Division is likely the first man ashore. He survives the war. Utah Beach landing is almost miraculous. Strong currents push landing craft 2,000 yards south of intended landing site. By accident, they land at a lightly defended section. Brigadier General Theodore Roosevelt, Jr., Teddy Roosevelt's son, 56 years old, with a heart condition, wades ashore with the first wave carrying a cane. He reconnoiters the beach, realizes they've landed in the wrong place, and makes a command decision. We'll start the war from right here. Utah Beach casualties are light, less than 200 on the first day. It's the most successful beach landing. By afternoon, the 4th Infantry will link up with paratroopers inland. Utah is a success story, but just 10 miles east, Omaha Beach is becoming hell. 6:30 a.m. Omaha Beach. Everything goes wrong. The naval and air bombardment miss German defenses. The German 352nd Infantry Division, a full-strength veteran unit, is waiting. As landing craft drop ramps, machine gun fire tears into American soldiers. Men are cut down in the water. Bodies float among beach obstacles. Many soldiers, weighted down with 60 pounds of equipment, drown in the surf. Tanks launched offshore sink in rough seas. 32 of 35 DD tanks drown. Engineers trying to clear obstacles are killed. Medics are shot treating wounded. Within 30 minutes, the beach is choked with dead, wounded, and pinned down soldiers. Officers and sergeants are targeted. Many are killed immediately. Some landing craft receive 90% casualties. Company A, 116th Infantry, suffers 96% casualties in the first wave. Omaha Beach is a slaughterhouse, and the second wave is about to arrive. 7 a.m. The second wave lands at Omaha directly into the carnage of the first. More soldiers are cut down. The beach is now crowded with thousands of men, most pinned against the seawall, unable to advance. German artillery has the beach pre-targeted. Shells explode among landing craft and soldiers. The wounded scream for medics. The dead pile up. Command is broken down. Most officers and senior NCOs are dead or wounded. At sea, commanders aboard ships consider abandoning Omaha Beach entirely. General Omar Bradley, watching from USS Augusta, contemplates evacuating survivors and sending reinforcements to other beaches. Omaha Beach, at 7 a.m. on D-Day, is a disaster. Soldiers later describe it as pure hell. The invasion success hangs in the balance. If Omaha fails, it creates a 10-mile gap between American beaches. The Germans can exploit this and defeat the invasion. But on the beach, small groups of soldiers are beginning to move. 7:30 a.m. On the British and Canadian beaches, Gold, Juno, and Sword, the landings are progressing better than Omaha, though not without casualties. British and Canadian forces benefit from specialized armor. Flail tanks clear mines. Churchill aviaries blow gaps and obstacles. Crocodile flamethrower tanks incinerate bunkers. Casualties are significant, especially at Juno Beach, where Canadian forces face heavy resistance. But the beaches are being secured. By mid-morning, British forces are pushing inland. The key objective is a vital city that must be captured quickly. But German resistance stiffens inland. Panzer divisions are beginning to move toward Normandy. The race is on. Can the Allies establish secure beachheads before German reinforcements arrive? At 7:30 a.m., that question is still unanswered. 8 a.m. Omaha Beach remains hell, but something is changing. Small groups of soldiers, refusing to stay pinned on the beach, begin moving. Colonel George Taylor, 16th Infantry, shouts the words that become legend. There are two kinds of people on this beach, those who are dead and those who are about to die. Now let's get the hell out of here. Soldiers begin advancing, not in organized units, but in small groups. Gaps in the barbed wire become routes inland. A destroyer, USS McCook, risks running aground to provide point-blank fire support, knocking out bunkers. Rangers scale Point Du Hoc cliffs under fire. Bangalore torpedoes blast through obstacles. It's not strategy, it's individual courage, small unit leadership, and desperate determination. By 8:30 a.m., Americans are off the beach and moving inland. Omaha is still costly, eventually 2,000 plus casualties, but it's no longer a complete disaster. The beachhead will hold. 9 a.m. at Point Du Hoc, a fortified promontory between Utah and Omaha. 225 Rangers are fighting for their lives. Their mission: scale 100-foot cliffs and destroy artillery threatening both beaches. The Rangers land at 7 a.m., late and off course. They scale the cliffs under fire using ropes, grappling hooks, and ladders. Germans throw grenades down. Rangers climb through shrapnel and gunfire. By 8 a.m., they reach the top, only to discover the guns aren't there. The Germans move them inland. Rangers search inland, find the guns in an orchard, and destroy them with thermite grenades. But now they're cut off. German counterattacks come throughout the day. Of 225 Rangers, only 90 are still able to fight by day's end. Point Du Hoc is a heroic success at terrible cost. The guns are destroyed, but the Rangers are isolated, surrounded, and nearly out of ammunition. 10 a.m. The Germans are finally responding. The 21st Panzer Division, located near Cannes, begins moving towards Sword Beach. Other divisions are ordered to Normandy, though many are delayed by Allied air attacks, French resistance sabotage, and Hitler's continued insistence that Normandy is a diversion. But by late morning, German reinforcements are arriving. The 21st Panzer will counterattack in the afternoon, the only major German armor response on D-Day. Meanwhile, in Germany, Hitler is finally awake and briefed. He's skeptical that Normandy is the main invasion. He still expects the real attack at Calais. His hesitation to commit reserves will haunt the German defense. But the panzers that are moving pose serious threat. If they reach the beaches before Allied forces consolidate, they could drive the invasion back into the sea. 11 a.m. At Utah Beach, American forces push inland and link up with paratroopers of the 101st Airborne. The junction is emotional. Seaborne forces are relieved to find paratroopers alive and holding objectives. Paratroopers are relieved that the invasion actually happened. They weren't sacrificed. Together, they begin pushing toward objectives: Corentin, Cherbourg, cutting off the Cotentin Peninsula. Utah Beach's success is complete. Light casualties, objective secured, forces pushing inland. Meanwhile, the 82nd Airborne is still fighting at St. Miraglisse and other positions. German counterattacks are intensifying, but the Americans hold. By noon, the western flank of the invasion, Utah Beach and airborne objectives, is relatively secure. The crisis is at Omaha and the British beaches. Noon, 12 hours after the first paratroopers jumped, the situation is mixed but hopeful. Utah Beach secure. 4th Infantry Division is pushing inland. Casualties, light. Omaha Beach, tenuous but holding. Americans have pushed 1 to 2 miles inland in some sectors. Casualties, horrific. Over 2,000 by day's end. Gold Beach, British forces advancing, meeting moderate resistance. Juno Beach, Canadian forces have pushed several miles inland, deepest penetration of the day. Sword Beach, advancing but facing counterattack from 21st Panzer Division. Overall, the Allies have 156,000 troops ashore or en route. 5 beachheads established, though not connected. German response is beginning, but still uncoordinated. The crisis has passed. The invasion will not be thrown back into the sea. But the beachheads are vulnerable. German reinforcements are approaching, and the next 12 hours will determine if the Allies can expand and link their positions. 12:30 p.m. At Allied headquarters in England, Eisenhower receives reports from Normandy. The news is mixed. Omaha is costly, but holding. Other beaches are securing. He's relieved. The night before, he'd written a message accepting full responsibility if the invasion failed. That message is now destroyed. Instead, he releases a statement to the world. Allied naval forces, supported by strong air forces, began landing Allied armies this morning on the northern coast of France. The BBC broadcast the news. In London, people celebrate in streets. In occupied France, hope surges. In Germany, propaganda dismisses it as a failed diversion. But everyone knows this is the moment. The liberation of Europe has begun, or it's about to become the greatest Allied disaster of the war. By nightfall, the answer will be clear. 1 p.m. The 21st Panzer Division launches the only significant German armored counterattack of D-Day. About 50 tanks attack British positions between Sword Beach and Cannes. The attack is aggressive but unsupported. German forces lack infantry support, air cover, and coordination with other units. British anti-tank guns and tanks engage the panzers. The fighting is intense but brief. Then gliders. Hundreds of British gliders bringing reinforcements appear overhead. The German tank commanders, fearing massive airborne reinforcements, halt their attack and withdraw. In reality, the gliders are mostly carrying support troops and supplies, not combat units. But the German panzer commanders don't know that. The counterattack fails. It's Germany's best chance to split the British beachheads and drive to the sea. Once it fails, the German strategy shifts from counterattack to defense. The window to defeat the invasion on the beaches has closed. 2 p.m. Omaha Beach is being secured. American forces control the bluffs overlooking the beach. Engineers are clearing obstacles and mines. Reinforcements and supplies are landing, though German artillery still shells the beach sporadically. The beach is cluttered with destroyed vehicles, bodies, and equipment. Medics are overwhelmed treating thousands of wounded. But the crisis has passed. By mid-afternoon, Omaha Beach is functioning, barely, as a supply point. The cost is staggering. By day's end, over 2,000 American casualties. Some units have suffered 60 to 90% casualties. But the beachhead holds, and reinforcements are pouring ashore. The question now isn't whether Omaha will hold, but whether it can expand and link with the other beaches. 3 p.m. British forces from Sword and Gold beaches are pushing toward the key D-Day objective. The plan called for Cannes to be captured on D-Day itself. But German resistance is stiffening. The 21st Panzer Division, though its counterattack failed, now defends approaches to Cannes. British forces are advancing cautiously, concerned about German armored counterattacks. Traffic jams on the beaches delay reinforcements. By late afternoon, it's clear Cannes won't fall on D-Day. This failure will have strategic consequences. The battlefield will drag on for over a month, fixing British forces in a grinding battle of attrition. But the British beachheads are secure and expanding, just not as fast as planned. 4 p.m. Canadian forces from Juno Beach have achieved the deepest penetration of D-Day, advancing about 10 miles inland. The 3rd Canadian Infantry Division is pushing toward Carpiquet Airfield, a vital objective. Canadian casualties on the beach were heavy, about 1,000. But once inland, they made rapid progress. The Canadians nearly link up with British forces from Sword Beach, coming within a few miles. If the junction is made, it would create a solid Anglo-Canadian beachhead. But German reinforcements are arriving, and the Canadians lack the strength to push further without support. By evening, they'll dig in, having achieved more on D-Day than any other force. The Canadian contribution to D-Day is often overlooked in American and British narratives, but it's crucial. They secured a beach, pushed deep inland, and helped create the solid lodgment that ensures invasion success. 5 p.m. Allied commanders assess the situation. The landings have succeeded. All 5 beaches are secured, but the beachheads are shallow and not yet linked. Omaha and Utah are separated by 10 miles. The British beaches have gaps between them. Total Allied forces ashore, about 132,000 troops, slightly below planned figures. Casualties, approximately 10,000 killed, wounded, or missing, heavy but far below worst-case predictions of 50,000 plus. German forces are resisting, but haven't mounted coordinated counterattacks. The key question: can the beachheads expand before German reinforcements arrive in strength? The next 24 to 48 hours are critical. If Germans can bring panzer divisions to bear, they might contain the beachheads. But Allied naval and air superiority makes German movement difficult. At 5 p.m. on D-Day, the invasion has succeeded but hasn't yet won. That will take weeks, even months. 6 p.m. In London, Winston Churchill addresses Parliament. During the night and early hours of this morning, the first of a series of landings upon the European continent has taken place. So far, the commanders report that everything is proceeding according to plan. And what a plan! Churchill is cautiously optimistic, but warns a long struggle ahead. This is not the end. It is not even the beginning of the end. But it is perhaps the end of the beginning. His words are prophetic. D-Day is successful, but the Battle of Normandy will rage for months. The war will continue for another year. But June 6, 1944, at 6 p.m., the Western Allies have a foothold in France they will never relinquish. The road to Berlin is open, though still long and bloody. 7 p.m., Field Marshal Rommel returns to France from Germany, arriving 15 hours after the invasion began. He's stunned by reports. Allies are ashore in force. Beachheads are expanding. German response has been ineffective. Rommel immediately orders counterattacks, but it's too late. The critical first hours when an invasion could have been defeated are gone. At Hitler's headquarters, the Führer still insists Normandy is a diversion. He refuses to release panzer reserves from the Calais area. This decision dooms German defense. By the time Hitler accepts Normandy as the real invasion days later, Allied beachheads are unshakable. German commanders later cite this as one of Hitler's most catastrophic strategic errors. But on the evening of June 6, German forces are still fighting hard, just without the coordination and reserves needed to defeat the invasion. 8 p.m. As twilight falls over Normandy, Allied forces dig in. The fighting has eased. Both sides are exhausted. Allied troops establish defensive perimeters, expecting German counterattacks during the night or at dawn. Supplies and reinforcements continue landing on beaches. Field hospitals treat thousands of wounded. Graves registration units begin the grim work of collecting and identifying bodies. Engineers work to clear obstacles and improve beach exits. The beachheads are secure but fragile. German artillery still shells beaches sporadically. Snipers are active. Small German counterattacks probe Allied lines. But no major German night offensive materializes. The Germans are too disorganized, their forces too scattered. The night of June 6 to 7th will be relatively quiet, allowing Allies to consolidate their positions. 9 p.m. For individual soldiers, D-Day is ending, but the war is just beginning. Men who survived Omaha Beach sit in shock, unable to process what they've experienced. Paratroopers who dropped at midnight, 21 hours ago, are finally being relieved. British soldiers dig foxholes and write letters home. Canadian troops check weapons and ammunition. Many can't sleep despite exhaustion. The sights, sounds, and smells of the day haunt them. Screaming wounded, bodies in surf, destroyed equipment, the smell of blood and cordite. Some cry. Others sit silent. Many pray. They survived June 6, but they know tomorrow brings more fighting. Many won't survive the week or the month. But tonight, they've accomplished something historic. They've breached Hitler's Atlantic Wall. Europe's liberation has begun, and it started with their courage. 10 p.m. The final count for D-Day. Approximately 156,000 Allied troops committed to the operation. About 132,000 actually landed on D-Day. The rest arrive in following days. Casualties. Approximately 10,000 Allied casualties for 1,400 confirmed dead. American casualties. about 6,600 total, including 2,500 at Omaha Beach alone. British casualties, about 2,700. Canadian casualties, about 1,000. German casualties, estimated 4,000 to 9,000 killed, wounded, or missing. 5 beaches secured. Beachheads established ranging from 3 to 10 miles deep. Total area controlled, about 80 square miles. Key objectives missed. Cannot captured, beachheads not linked, several towns still in German hands. But the invasion succeeded. The Allies have a foothold in France. More troops are landing continuously, and German forces fail to throw them back into the sea. By 10 p.m. on D-Day, the outcome is no longer in doubt. 11 p.m., Allied commanders are already planning June 7th. D+1. Objectives for tomorrow: link Utah and Omaha beaches. Expand all beachheads. Begin push toward Cherbourg. Continue pressure toward Cannes. Land more armor and artillery. Establish airfields. Thousands more troops will land tomorrow. German resistance will stiffen as reinforcements arrive. The Battle of Normandy is just beginning. It will rage for over 2 months, cost over 200,000 Allied casualties, and be the decisive campaign of the Western European theater. But D-Day, June 6, 1944, is the foundation. It proved amphibious invasion, a defended coastline, could succeed. It demonstrated Allied planning, logistics, and courage. And it opened the second front that would doom Nazi Germany. At 11 p.m. on D-Day, the soldiers don't know all this. They just know they survived the longest day. Midnight, June 6 to 7th. 24 hours since the first paratroopers jumped into darkness over Normandy. 24 hours that changed the world. At midnight, Normandy is relatively quiet. Soldiers sleep in foxholes. Guards watch for German counterattacks that don't come. On beaches, work continues. Supplies unloaded, wounded evacuated. The invasion has succeeded, but the battle continues. Tomorrow will bring more fighting, and the day after, and for weeks and months. But June 6, 1944, will be remembered as the day the Western Allies returned to continental Europe. The day Hitler's fortress Europe was breached. The day that began the end of Nazi Germany. For the soldiers who fought there, who stormed beaches, jumped from planes, scaled cliffs, and died by the thousands, D-Day was the longest, bloodiest, most terrifying day of their lives. For history, it was a day everything changed. This was D-Day, the first 24 hours that liberated a continent. The days after D-Day see massive Allied buildup. By June 12, D+6, all 5 beaches are linked into continuous front. Over 300,000 troops are ashore. Artificial mulberry harbors are towed across channel and installed, allowing supply ships to unload directly. But progress inland is slower than hoped. Won't fall until mid-July. Bocage country, dense hedgerows, proves nightmare for attackers. German resistance stiffens as panzer divisions arrive. The Battle of Normandy becomes grinding attrition, exactly what Allies wanted to avoid. But the beachhead is secure. Nothing can dislodge it. By June 30th, nearly 1 million Allied troops are in Normandy. The lodgment is unshakable. German forces are trapped in Normandy, being ground down by superior Allied numbers and firepower. D-Day's strategic impact is enormous. It opened Second Front style and demanded, forcing Germany to fight on 2 fronts simultaneously. In summer 1944, Soviets launched massive offensive in East, Operation Bagration, destroying German Army Group Center. Germany is now crushed between Soviet steamroller in East and Anglo-American forces in West. Resources diverted to Normandy weaken Eastern Front. Allied air supremacy in West means Germany can't reinforce Normandy adequately. By August, Allied forces break out of Normandy, race across France, and liberate Paris. By September, Allied forces reach German border. D-Day didn't end the war. That takes another year, but it made German defeat inevitable. Hitler's strategic nightmare, 2-front war, becomes reality, and it started June 6. Why did D-Day succeed? Multiple factors. First, air and naval supremacy. Luftwaffe and Kriegsmarine were shadows of former strength. Allied bombers had crippled German infrastructure. Second, deception. Operation Fortitude convinced Germans invasion would come at Calais. Even after D-Day, Hitler kept forces at Calais, expecting real invasion. Third, German confusion. Divided command, Hitler's sleep, Rommel's absence. All delayed response. Fourth, Allied logistics. Massive preparation, artificial harbors. Supply planning enabled sustained operations. Fifth, specialized equipment. British funnies, specialized tanks. Proved invaluable. Sixth, soldier courage. At Omaha Beach especially, individual initiative saved the day. Finally, timing. Germany was already weakened by 3 years of war, stretched thin, facing Soviet juggernaut in East. D-Day succeeded not by single masterstroke, but by countless factors combining perfectly. D-Day cost approximately 10,000 Allied casualties on June 6 alone. Over 4,400 confirmed dead that day. The Battle of Normandy, June 6 to August 30th, cost Allies over 200,000 casualties, killed, wounded, missing. Americans, about 125,000. British and Canadian, about 75,000. German casualties in Normandy, over 400,000. French civilian casualties, about 20,000, many from Allied bombing. Today, American cemeteries in Normandy hold over 9,000 graves. British, Canadian, and German cemeteries hold thousands more. Each grave represents an individual, a person with family, dreams, future, who died liberating Europe. Some were 18, 19 years old. Many died on the beach before firing a shot. Others survived D-Day but died in subsequent fighting. We remember D-Day's success, but we must remember its cost, paid in young lives. D-Day lives in cultural memory as defining moment of World War II, at least in Western narrative. Films like The Longest Day, 1962, and Saving Private Ryan, 1998, shaped popular understanding. Annual commemorations in Normandy draw thousands. Museums preserve artifacts and stories. But memory is contested. American narratives often minimize British and Canadian contributions. British accounts sometimes downplay American sacrifice at Omaha. French experience, caught between occupiers and liberators, is complex, and Soviet Union's role, crushing Germany in East while D-Day occurred, is often forgotten in West. D-Day matters immensely, but it's one operation in global war. Remembering it requires honoring all who fought, American, British, Canadian, French resistance, even German soldiers who fought and died. Comprehensive memory respects complexity. Military professionals still study D-Day for lessons. Amphibious assault planning, joint operations coordination, logistics of massive operations, importance of intelligence and deception, and value of specialized equipment. Modern amphibious doctrine owes much to Normandy's lessons. But some lessons are dated. Today's precision weapons, drones, satellites change warfare fundamentally. No modern power could assemble fleet like D-Day without detection. Defenders have missiles that would devastate landing craft. Yet core principles remain. Surprise, speed, overwhelming force at decisive point, sustained logistics. D-Day proved these principles. Modern militaries must adapt them to new technologies. But study of Normandy remains essential for understanding large-scale operations. Today, Normandy's beaches are peaceful. Tourists swim where soldiers died. Families picnic near bunkers that once held German machine guns. The beaches are beautiful, as they were on June 6, 1944, before hell descended. Memorials mark where specific events occurred. Point du Hoc, where rangers scale cliffs. Pegasus Bridge, where British gliders landed. St. Mire-Église, where paratrooper hung from church steeple. Omaha Beach, where thousands died. These sites are pilgrimage destinations for those who remember veterans, families of the fallen, and people grateful for liberation purchased with Allied blood. The beaches remember. The cemeteries remember. And every June 6th, the world pauses to remember D-Day. D-Day, June 6, 1944, was 24 hours that changed history. In those hours, 156,000 Allied soldiers stormed 5 beaches, dropped from the sky, and breached Hitler's Atlantic Wall. 10,000 were killed or wounded, but the invasion succeeded. Europe's liberation began. The road to Berlin opened. Nazi Germany's defeat became inevitable. D-Day succeeded because of extraordinary planning, deception, logistics, and technology. But ultimately, it succeeded because of soldiers' courage. Young men from America, Britain, Canada, and free forces of occupied nations who stormed beaches knowing they might die, who jumped from planes into darkness, who scaled cliffs under fire, who kept fighting when everything went wrong. They were terrified. Many died, but they advanced anyway. That's D-Day's lesson. Ordinary people, properly led and motivated, can achieve extraordinary things. The soldiers of D-Day weren't superheroes. They were farm boys, factory workers, students, clerks, ordinary men doing extraordinary duty. They saved the world, and we must never forget them. This was D-Day, the first 24 hours that changed everything. Remember it, honor it, and understand what they fought for: freedom, liberation, and a world without tyranny. That world, our world, exists because of what happened on June 6, 1944. Remember them. Thank you for watching this hour-by-hour account of D-Day, June 6, 1944. If this comprehensive examination of history's greatest invasion moved you, please like, subscribe, and share. Leave your thoughts. What impressed you most about D-Day? How should we remember this day? What lessons remain relevant? Your engagement helps us create detailed historical content honoring those who fought for freedom. Until next time, remember D-Day, remember the soldiers who stormed the beaches, and remember that freedom isn't free. It's purchased with courage and blood. June 6, 1944. The first 24 hours that changed everything. Never forget,